and Cardinal Luis Tagle of the Philippines, known as the Pope Francis of Asia.
Behind the closed doors of the Vatican, a major meeting is underway as cardinals from around the world prepare for the Conclave on May 7, 2025. And one name keeps coming up again and again: Luis Antonio Tagle. In the midst of one of the most challenging and divided times the Church has faced in decades, Tagle isn't just quietly attending these meetings. He's right at the heart of them. He's been chosen to help the Camerlengo, the official in charge while the Church is without a pope, putting him closer than ever to key decisions. That alone sends a strong signal. Tagle isn't just a possible future pope. He's already playing a crucial role in shaping what comes next. While the Cardinals' discussions are meant to be secret, word is getting out. Insiders say they're talking not just about theology, but about the Church's future across the globe. From dealing with scandals to healing internal divisions and seeking spiritual renewal. In all these conversations, Tagle's name keeps surfacing. He's admired not only for his beliefs, but because he represents something bigger, a truly global Catholic Church. As one insider put it, if the Church wants to show it's truly global, Tagle is the clearest answer. Why Tagle is rising, and why some still hesitate. Cardinal Luis Tagle is gaining serious momentum, and not just in Asia. He speaks English, Italian, and Tagalog, which helps him connect deeply with both church leaders and everyday people from different cultures. As the former head of Caritas Internationalis, he stood up for the poor, migrants, and disaster victims, earning wide respect for his compassion and integrity. Many see him as a natural successor to Pope Francis, not just in ideas, but in spirit. He's known for listening deeply before he speaks, and when he does, his words often feel uplifting and grace-filled. One African cardinal summed it up best. He doesn't just speak, he listens, and then he lifts. Like Francis, Tagle emphasizes mercy, inclusion, and reaching out to the margins, and he rejects rigid, overly clerical ways of running the Church. For a Catholic Church that's growing fastest in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, electing Tagle would send a powerful message. The future of the Church belongs to the whole world, not just Europe. But not everyone is sold. Some cardinals worry he lacks the toughness needed to manage the Vatican's bureaucracy or address internal corruption. His time at Caritas ended amid restructuring and management concerns, raising questions about his ability to govern. Others think he's too closely tied to Pope Francis's approach, one that some see as too political or unclear on doctrine. His support for welcoming divorced couples, LGBTQ people, and interfaith dialogue makes him a beacon of hope to some, but a red flag to others looking for a sharp change, not a continuation. Tagle's moment. Hope, odds, and a church at a crossroads. Despite some doubts, Cardinal Luis Tagle is still seen as one of the top contenders to become the next pope. Betting markets have him near the top, just behind Italian Cardinal Zuppi, with odds around 3-1. The Philippines will have its biggest voting presence ever, with 3 cardinals casting ballots. And many cardinals from Africa and Latin America reportedly see Tagle as someone who represents them. What makes him stand out even more is that he appeals across the spectrum. Liberals like him, moderates respect him, and even some conservatives don't see him as a threat. That kind of broad support could be exactly what's needed in a conclave, where no single group holds all the power. But this election is about more than just Tagle. It's about the future direction of the Catholic Church. A Tagle victory would signal a continued focus on Pope Francis's legacy, a church centered on compassion, global inclusion, and humility over hierarchy. But if someone like Cardinal Erdo or Cardinal Sarah wins, it might mean the Cardinals want a return to tradition and clarity over Francis's more flexible style. Around the world, especially in the global south, people are watching closely. In Manila, people are holding prayer vigils. In Nairobi, Catholic radio stations are covering every update. On social media, #Pope Tagle is trending in many languages. To them, Tagle represents more than reform. He represents recognition, a church that finally reflects its people. At 67, Tagle is young enough to lead for years, but this could be his only real chance. If the Cardinals want to turn the page to a more global, compassionate future, his election will make that statement loud and clear. If not, Tagle may quietly return to his role in the Vatican. And this extraordinary moment will have passed. A letter from the heart. Pope Francis's final words to Tagle shake the Church. Long before tweets and press conferences, letters spoke from the soul. And one just revealed by the Vatican has left the Catholic world reeling. It was handwritten by the late Pope Francis to Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, and it wasn't about power, politics, or positions. It was deeply personal. This letter, meant only for Tagle's eyes, surfaced at a moment when the Church stands at a crossroads, and its impact has been profound. Tagle, usually calm and reserved, was reportedly stunned by its message. Not because it boosted his chances at the papacy, but because it stripped everything back to what truly matters: humility, service, and love. In the letter, Francis reminded Tagle that the Church isn't built on marble or tradition, but on people, their struggles, their tears, and their grace. Never lose the ability to understand the hearts of the people, Francis wrote. The Church doesn't belong to those seeking power. It belongs to those who want to serve. These words, once private, have now become a kind of public gospel, a challenge to the entire Church. Francis didn't name a successor, but he left a clear call: stay close to the poor, reject pride, and lead by lifting others. For a church searching for direction, this letter is more than a message. It's a mirror, asking its leaders to look inward and remember where true leadership begins, not on a throne, but at the feet of the people. Francis's closest ally speaks, and the papal race just got hotter. One of Pope Francis's closest and most influential allies has stepped into the spotlight, and his words are already shaking up the race to choose the next pope. Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, known not just as a top Vatican official, but as Francis's trusted advisor and longtime collaborator, has gone public with strong, unapologetic comments. As head of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, the Vatican's top office on church teaching, Fernandez's voice carries serious weight. But it's not just his title that matters. He's often described as Francis's ghostwriter and ideological twin, someone who's helped shape many of the Pope's most important reforms behind the scenes. Now, after Francis's death, he's not staying behind the curtain. In recent interviews, Fernandez has defended the late Pope's vision with boldness and bite, taking aim at conservative critics inside the Church, especially those who opposed the controversial Begging for Confidence document, which allowed blessings for same-sex couples outside of marriage. His strong words have drawn sharp lines between those who want to carry on Francis's legacy and those pushing for a return to more traditional leadership. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing's clear: Fernandez's public stand could seriously sway opinions in the conclave, and it might just boost the chances of a pope who will walk in Francis's footsteps. Fernandez fires back, and traditionalists feel the heat. There are cardinals, said Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, who should know better, who are more interested in fear than in faith. That bold statement didn't go unnoticed. In fact, it was a clear shot, and everyone knew it. In a wave of interviews and public comments, Fernandez has come out swinging in defense of Pope Francis's reforms, especially around mercy, inclusion, and listening to those on the margins. He hasn't held back, openly criticizing conservative resistance inside the church, and even suggesting that some high-level critics should be removed from power. He accused them of blocking progress, not out of faithfulness, but out of pride and clinging to the past. He didn't name every opponent outright, but his message was loud and clear. There's a battle over the church's future, and he's not backing down. Traditionalist cardinals are feeling the pressure. Cardinal Robert Sarah, a key voice for conservative Catholics and outspoken critic of Francis's reform on blessings for same-sex couples, is clearly in the line of fire. So is Cardinal Raymond Burke, long known for challenging Francis on issues of authority and doctrine. Other cardinals from Eastern Europe and Africa who oppose changes in the Church's approach to sexuality, family life, and governance are also likely targets. Fernandez's comments have shaken things up, drawing sharp lines between those who want to move forward with Francis's legacy and those who want to turn back the clock. Powerful cardinals, now under scrutiny. The race for Pope gets more intense. These are not minor figures. Some of the cardinals Fernandez has criticized were once considered strong contenders for the papacy. But after his recent comments, made from his influential position overseeing church doctrine, they may no longer be seen as viable candidates. Now, if you're a cardinal preparing to vote in the upcoming conclave, there's a clear message, showing loyalty to Pope Francis, and his vision isn't just a plus, it might be a requirement. Fernandez's statements have already shifted the mood before the conclave. There's a sharper divide now. Cardinals are being grouped not just by their backgrounds, but by how they stand on Francis's legacy. Many cardinals who were previously undecided are now quietly aligning themselves, either supporting the reformers or keeping a low profile to avoid being seen as opposition. The atmosphere is one of strategy and caution. Leaked messages and press coverage are leaning toward candidates who represent continuity with Francis's approach. The result is a more cautious conclave, where openly criticizing Francis or Fernandez could quickly disqualify someone from the papacy. Where does Cardinal Tagle stand? Helped or hurt by the shift? Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, often called the Asian Francis for his similar approach to leadership, finds himself at the heart of this shift. His record strongly reflects Francis's values, a focus on compassion, global inclusiveness, and collaborative leadership. But here's the catch. Tagle isn't universally praised. Some conservative cardinals see him as too lenient on church teachings, and there have been criticisms about his leadership at Caritas Internationalis. Some even question whether he has the administrative strength needed to lead the church through tough times. Did Fernandez's comments help Cardinal Tagle? Possibly. So, does Fernandez's intervention indirectly help Tagle? Yes. While Fernandez may not have picked Tagle as his ideal successor, the environment Fernandez has created seems to favor candidates like Tagle. He's compassionate, global-minded, and, most importantly, completely loyal to Pope Francis's vision. In a divided church, Tagle's approach feels safer than anyone closely tied to traditionalist views, and that might just convince undecided cardinals to support him. Tagle hears what he wasn't meant to hear. What did Cardinal Tagle hear in the conclave that he wasn't supposed to? It wasn't pretty, and it came in waves. First, he found out that many senior cardinals privately admired his kindness, humility, and the way he spoke to people. But they doubted his ability to handle the tough political side of leading the church. They called him pastoral but weak when it came to making tough decisions. Then came the accusations. Rumors spread about how, during his time in Manila, he supposedly mishandled abuse reports, leaked confidential information, and might have been linked to questionable financial decisions. But Tagle didn't react with anger. He didn't make a scene or call for support. Instead, he turned to prayer. He withdrew from the social pressures, choosing silence and reflection over reacting to the gossip. Those close to him described him as visibly shaken, but calm. His voice was steady, though thin, as he quietly addressed the conclave. He didn't try to defend himself. Instead, he promised to stay loyal to the Church's mission of reform, no matter who became Pope. There were no dramatic speeches, just sincerity. For many, that moment spoke louder than anything else in the conclave. Tagle showed the world what real leadership looks like, not just striving for power, but humbling yourself even in the face of failure. He showed us that true leaders are willing to lose, yet still serve. They grieve, but continue to love. They hear the worst and still pray for the best.